Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Tom Rivera, and in partnership with the library here at Cal State San Bernardino, we are doing an oral history of South Colton. And just let me name the committee members that we have for our program. First of all, we have Mr. Henry Vasquez, who's here this afternoon, and Mr. Frank Acosta. And we are thoroughly interested in just recording some of the incidents that happened between 1890 and the late 1960s. And this afternoon, we have Miss Ramona Aranda. And Ramona, I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
My middle name is Aranda.
Aranda. Ramona Aranda
Genemara.
Genemara. And welcome. Thank you so much for being with us for this interview. I know I did it, I called you on short notice, and you right away volunteered to be with us.
Yes.
Well, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us. Why don't we start our interview? And first of all, why don't you tell us about your mom and dad? Where did mom and dad come from?
Well, they originated from León, Guanajuato, Mexico. They married in 1923.
Mm-hmm.
My father decided he didn't want to stay in Mexico because of the revolution. My mother had lost her father in the revolution. So my mother married very young. She was only 16.
Mm-hmm.
And so they lived in León, Guanajuato for a short time, and then they decided that they were going to come to the States because they were offering them jobs in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
My father hooked up with the Reenganche, which is a group that had come to Mexico to a pool of men or
Mhm.
families and to bring them across the border
Mhm.
with a green card
Mm-hmm.
to work. Some went to Arizona, New Mexico, and California.
Mm-hmm. And your dad came to California?
No, they first took him to Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
to some mines. I don't remember what kind of mines they were.
And then
But he
after
stayed-
Arizona?
He stayed very short time there. He had a nephew living in Oro Grande, California.
Mm-hmm.
So the nephew wrote him and told him that they were hiring at the cement plant in Oro Grande.
Mm-hmm.
So my father said, okay, we're going to California,
Mm-hmm.
because the weather was so severe where they had stopped. You know, the winters were terrific, and so were they in Oro Grande
Mhm.
because of the snow and everything. But my mother was expecting me at the time. In 1924, I was born, and
And you're the oldest of
I'm-
the Aranda family?
I am the oldest of the
And how many
family.
kids did your mom and dad have?
Total was 11 of us.
11? How many girls and how many boys?
There's 5 girls and 6 boys.
Okay. And then after Oro Grande, you moved to Colton?
No, my father applied at the Santa Fe railroad station,
Mhm.
railroad, to work, and I think he worked maybe a few months there. And then from there, he came to Colton.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
And they went over that bridge that used to go up over the railroads
Mhm.
and make a sharp turn and then come down the other side in an L shape before the bridge that is there right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
I got to go over that bridge several times. And I was so scared, I didn't think that Model A was gonna make it. It was pretty steep.
And what year was that, Ramona?
1928.
1928? When you guys came to Colton?
Yes, well,
And
my sister was born in San Bernardino,
in San Bernardino?
just before we moved to Colton.
Okay. And then when you moved to Colton, where was your first house located?
It was at the Lida Little Warehouse
Mm-hmm.
on the middle block of N Street. And that's where we celebrated one Christmas
Mm-hmm.
and several other things. And that's where I first rode my first Model T,
Uh-huh.
brand new car because one of the relatives had a brand new, I think it was a Ford.
A Ford
The
Model
Ford-
T,
Ford Model
the
T.
biggest thrill in your life
Oh,
during that
right,
period.
right.
And how old were you?
I had to have been about 5.
Uh-huh.
5. Well, during the time that I was 5 years old, my father knew a professor of Spanish. He came from Mexico. Se llamaba Profesor Lira.
Mhm.
And he enrolled me into the school. So I learned Spanish before I learned English.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
So I went to this little school at 5 years old.
mhm, mhm.
And so that was an education for me. And then there was a gentleman that used to come around selling menudo
Uh-huh.
in a little cart. Had a big pot, I don't know how he kept it hot, but anyway, it was the best menudo you ever had.
You mentioned that it was quite an experience when you started school. What did you mean by that?
Oh, the experience was that, you know, when you come to a new area,
Uh-huh.
you don't know anybody. So this little school signed up most of the kids that were my age. So when we went to kindergarten at 6 years old, it was the same gang.
Ah,
The same gang was going, we were all going to the same school.
uh-huh.
Which was the old Garfield that was on La Cadena at the time.
Okay, La Caldera and 7th Street?
No, La Cadena and
N Street.
M actually.
Yeah,
M.
yeah.
Not N, but it was M Street.
Oh.
They used to have a little park there.
Yes, yes.
Before that little store went in.
So you were one of the students in that original Garfield Elementary School?
Yes. Mhm.
Uh-huh,
When they first built it,
uh-huh,
Mr. Heisner, which was our principal,
uh-huh,
he was German.
uh-huh.
And you know, we were fighting with Germany then,
Mhm,
but he was a real tall, 6-footer, I guess,
uh-huh.
red hair, very white skin, green
Mhm.
eyes, and he was so into the Mexican culture. He got us kids all together in the schools at different grades and made a great big fiesta in the front of the school.
Uh-huh.
I only known of one time, he even had it taped. The first movie cameras that they had,
Uh-huh.
he had one of them. And he filmed it. And I don't know whatever happened to our superintendent of that particular school, which was a Garfield.
So you went to Garfield, and then you went to Roosevelt?
1 year in Roosevelt while they were building our junior high.
Wilson Junior High School.
Right.
And then when did you start Wilson Junior High School?
1938.
1938?
Graduated in 39.
And you graduated from Wilson 1939?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And then you went to Colton High School?
Yeah, in the 40s,
Uh-huh.
which I started in the 1940 and graduated in 43.
So you
Well,
graduated from
39.
Colton High School then? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Ramona, during that period, you said that you were actively involved in softball.
Yes,
What team did you play for?
the Colton Mercury, Girls Mercury.
The girls' Mercury team? And what
We
was
had the
your-
boys Mercury.
And what was your position?
A catcher.
You were the catcher? Do you remember some of your players, some of the?
Very few that I remember now.
A ver.
But I remember them, what they looked like and how they played, but I
Uh-huh.
cannot remember their names.
And what year was that?
40 and 41.
40 and 41? And the catcher, and then the pitcher,
Lucy Garcia was the pitcher.
and the first base person,
Carmen, I think.
second base,
Connie.
shortstop,
I don't remember shortstop.
third base,
No, some of them I don't
and the
remember.
fielders.
Fielders. I used to fill in for fielder, the right fielder,
Uh-huh.
when I had to take a rest from being
Uh-huh.
a catcher. But other than that, I don't remember that many,
Mhm.
Oh, I think there was a Ruby Garcia too.
You mentioned Arredondo.
Arredondo was more in the professional. She was more of a professional because she was older than we were.
Uh-huh.
Because our limit
Uh-huh.
for the where the age limit was established.
Yeah.
We could only be so old.
And then besides softball, what other recreation did you have? You mentioned that you were involved in las Fiestas Patrias,
Right.
the 16th of September.
Right.
What was your role? You said your dad coached you in actively participating in las Fiestas Patrias in September.
Yes, I was part of their program, and I was taught the dedications to the flag, the colors and what they represented, and we were taught to sing the national anthem in Spanish.
And how old were you when you did that?
Let's see, I started possibly 10 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I did that for a while, maybe 3 years.
2 years?
Three.
3
About
years?
3 years.
And what years were those, Ramona? Do you remember?
Well, if I started at 10, it had to be, how old was I at 10? I mean, what year was I at 10? 34,
Uh-huh.
35, 36, somewhere around there.
So you were one of the main people that put the Fiestas Patrias together.
That's what they featured me. I had fun.
And then your dad, what role did your dad play in the Fiestas Patrias?
Not much. He was a member of the Logia.
La Logia Progresistas?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a member of the Logia.
Uh-huh.
The one that was really in charge of that was Mr. Sosa.
Luz Sosa. Luz Sosa.
He was
Okay.
the instigator to all of that,
Uh-huh.
the one that made the plans
Uh-huh.
and the program. And until he passed away, he was very active. So
Mr. Luz Sosa was Mr. 16 de Septiembre Fiestas.
right.
Yeah. And then what other activities did you do? You mentioned that you went swimming in the Caldera swimming pool. Tell me about that.
Well, I think I was also about 10 years old.
Uh-huh.
On Saturdays, when we didn't go to school Saturdays, my father was one of the first owners of an automobile. So we'd pile all the kids from the neighborhood into the car. Saturdays, we're going to the plunge. We used to call it the plunge.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to drive us, because we were in La Paloma, drive us all the way to 5th Street, where the pool was. So we used to have a lot of fun there in the summertime.
Uh-huh. Do you know anything about the background of Mr. Caldera, Juan Caldera?
I believe he had a bakery.
Okay.
He had a bakery on 7th Street, next to the Martinez store.
Mm-hmm.
That's there on, what is that, M Street?
Yes, yes.
And he used to own that property that was next,
Mhm.
south of Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
And he developed that into a bakery. He and his father, I think, because I think I got to meet his
Mhm.
father too. But it was a big Caldera family.
Mhm.
And the kids were very good swimmers.
Mm-hmm.
There was Cristobal Caldera was the owner of all that property over there where the pool was.
Mm.
So
that was on Congress and 5th Street?
something
In that area?
yeah,
Okay.
right. Now Caldera also sponsored or owned, I don't know which one, but he sponsored a team, a men's baseball team, one of the first ones that before the Mercuries.
Ah, okay.
Before the Mercuries, way back when they had the dirt field, nothing on there, just but dirt.
Where was the baseball field? Also
Right
where the plunge?
right behind the plunge.
Oh, okay.
It was an
Okay.
open field. And what he used to do is I think he used to grow corn in the field.
Mhm.
When they drained the pool I think it was either Friday night or something to that effect. They used to drain the pool and use that water to irrigate.
Oh, I see.
So they would recycle the water, and then they would fill clean water for Saturday. So
Okay.
Saturday was crispy clean. It was beautiful. And,
No.
but the water was cold.
I can imagine. So he had a baseball field in that area also.
Yeah, and
I also heard that he had a bull ring.
yes, For a little while, they tried it, but I think the state of California came after him because it was animal abuse.
Okay, okay,
They wouldn't put up with it.
yeah.
So that faded away very
Very
fast.
quickly, huh?
Mhm.
What about the dance hall? I heard that he also had a dance hall in that area or some type of hall.
I don't really, oh, maybe upstairs in his building where he had the bakery.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a dance hall up there on top.
Mhm.
I don't remember because I wasn't of age to be in a dance hall at that time. At 10 years old, I wasn't
Mhm.
into that.
Mhm.
But I believe I heard something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Then, of course, in around that same time, there was another little dance hall down on Fairway that connects from,
Valley?
no, is it Valley? Yeah, around Valley.
Uh-huh.
And where the wash is right now, where there's nothing but dirt, and
Mhm.
they have a storage there right now.
Mhm.
They were even planning to make a soccer field there. Colton was planning to, it hasn't developed or anything.
Mhm.
There used to be a dance hall there, I think it was called, what was it called? I can't remember the name of
Yeah.
the little dance hall. The reason I know it is because a lady that used to go dancing there had a little boy, had a baby, and the little baby was left with my mother and me to babysit him while she went to dance. That's how I remember it. So I was a babysitter for this lady that used to go dancing in
Uh-huh.
that little place.
Uh-huh.
So that
What
was-
about, I heard of another dance hall on the corner of O Street and 7th Street. El Tivoli or Tivoli?
And that's where I started learning about the Fiestas
What
Patrias.
was the name of it?
Tribuli. I think.
Tivoli, El Tivoli?
Tribuli.
Okay.
I think it caught fire or got destroyed somehow.
Uh-huh.
And just the pillars were left, front
Uh-huh.
pillars, and they used to use that for a background.
Uh-huh.
So any fiestas or any presentation that was done in front of those pillars.
Mhm.
But I don't remember, oh yes, I remember. That's where they had that little school.
The little school where you first
Where I
started
first
when you were
started
5 years
learning.
old.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Where I first went to school
Uh-huh.
at 5 years old.
Uh-huh.
So I think, and then from there, they moved that little school to where El Sombrero is now.
Yes.
There was a little, kind of a theater where they presented different plays and stuff.
Mhm.
I wasn't too much into that, so, because I was too young at the
Mhm.
time, so I didn't really pay attention to
Uh-huh.
what was going on at that age, at my age.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting. There was a lot of activities going on.
And you mentioned your dad.
Mhm.
Where did your dad work when he moved to Colton?
At the time, there was no work. Well, he only worked for a little while at the.
Was this during the Depression?
Yes,
Okay.
very much. Most of my youth was during the Depression. And we didn't get out of the Depression until World War II, which is 1941. So, and then my father got a job at the Pacific Fruit Express,
Mhm.
and there is where they came up, because by then the boys had gone into the service, the older boys had gone into the service, and they were able to send money for the rest of us to live on.
Okay, okay. So your brothers joined the service?
Well, they were drafted. not
They were
really joined.
drafted?
They didn't
They were
join.
kicking and screaming.
They went. They went.
So they were in the service, and was this World War II?
Yes, World War II.
And name the brothers that participated in World War II.
That was my brother.
Tony?
Tony, Louis, and John.
And John. They were all veterans of World War II.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ramona, when they came home, were they different because of their experiences in traveling or being to different places and then fighting? Because I know that it was hard for Mexican Americans to be part of the community, the north part of the community.
Mhm.
Was there any changes where when your brothers came home and said, wait a minute, I paid my dues, therefore, I'm a fully American citizen, and therefore, I should be treated as such?
Well, being that they were born American citizens, that wasn't a problem. But the jobs were not available. But I take that back a little. Some of the people that had jobs before they went in, like my husband,
Mhm.
when he went in, he had a job.